Okay, we're good to go. Hey everyone, it's Durian and Gankun with Gardeno Games, and just gonna chatting about the new Ultraman set, right? Booster Pack
hmm
2. What's it called? Vortex of Crimson and Azure, right? And yeah, so we got some. I got some topics. I think the first one for us is what what's the deck that we're looking most forward to trying? That did not that's not a real sentence. What deck are you looking forward to trying the most? Okay, I can English. I promise.
Um, the top two that come to mind for me are either a Mebius Starry deck.
Hmm.
Just because right now I play Mebius Blazar, so I can either swap out Blazar for a different supporting hero, or vice versa. Maybe I'll do Blazar and someone else.
Hmm.
I mean, there's enough cards now for a mono Blazar deck, but it's always kind of nice to see what things you can mix up together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What do you think about the new like Mebius that like lets you discard to give like plus 2,000 to a Mebius or Hikari?
I think it depends on the deck you're using. So at first I was thinking how I would put this into my maybe a Blazer deck,
Mm.
and I would probably replace the right now there's the what do you call it, the uncommon
Mm-mm-mm.
grade 3 that when you play him, just pull up his effect, you discard 3 and you give someone 2,000. And then the new
Right.
effect, if you pull it back up, uh, it's kind of similar, but
So
you
the
can use it more than once.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is the one I currently have. And with the new one, it's an activate and discard a card from hand. Right? Is that one did?
Yeah, that's true. You can use it every turn.
So it's kind of, yeah, nice. You can use it every turn. So you could either play it right away for like a quick win, or you can hold it into a later turn. It
Mhm.
goes from 16 to 18, which you might need to beat a lot of 17K heroes, or you could use it to tie like a Decker, Tiga, kind of 18K
Okay.
lane to maybe have the game go on another couple rounds, and then hope your scenes and whatnot can build momentum. So I like it a lot. I would probably swap out my uncommon for this one,
Mhm.
just because it's in that sense an upgrade. The other number I like is grade 2 is 13K. The other one is
Yeah.
currently 12K.
Oh, that's true. That's pretty big.
So that gives me a little bit of bump if I'm trying to fight for lead, and I mean I can still use the effect at any point. So I could, just like how the other one. Oh, and this one works on a double, which is I
Yeah, I
think the
just
key
noticed it works
difference.
on a double, which I think matters a lot because it gives you
Yeah,
like more options to try to take the lead, right?
yeah. So this one's definitely a big one. If I were to keep my deck as is, I would probably just swap out the grade 3 uncommon
Mhm.
Mebius with this one.
What
Um,
about the new like level 2?
um,
Personally, I think this card kind of sucks.
I I don't disagree. So or it's not the most amazing effect,
Yeah.
but I'd rather have a scene searcher or something else
Mhm, of course.
in general. But if I were running this in Hikari, then it's not bad because then I get a double that I can hit 11K with, which is
True.
nice. It's a better number than the scene searcher is what, 9K, so
Yeah.
it's not as strong. And then the other options right now for grade 2 Mebius is it's the Mebium Blade. Double is 10K, but if I'm going against a power, I get a
Power, it's like
BP increase one.
yeah.
That's nice when I get the power lineup because that's 15K on a double.
Hmm.
Um, but otherwise, then the only other alternative is the common, which is 11K on a double. It's a better number, but you can't bump it, so
You
it's
can't bump
very
it.
annoying.
And
Yeah,
that matters a lot because of the original triple M Mebius, which lets you bump
yeah.
any Mebius.
So
which I just realized the new grade one Mebius or level one Mebius is going to be pretty strong because you could just bump it to a 10 randomly.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's definitely helpful. I think the other one I would run right now would be a 6K, and then you could bump it up to an 8K.
Oh yeah,
Um, Though, on the rare matchup, I'd have to think about what other cards run, but this one also has a BP increase if it's type speed. But either
Mhm.
way, though, I think these two rares, like for the grade one and the grade two, I don't expect them to replace what I would otherwise run, but I do
Yeah,
think it gives you more options to not have
yeah.
to run the like
I was
uncommons.
thinking while we were talking about the new like level three, is that the one thing I really like about the current uncommon is that it adds to your discard.
Hmm.
Like it mills you a lot without like getting it out of your hand. So like if you're going to replace that one, I worry your like discard runs out of Mebius is basically a little bit easier, but then the new level two would kind of fix that a little bit.
Yeah, I
It would
think.
give you more random discards.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on the new one to build up your discard.
Yeah.
So when I'm running Blazar Mebius, the Blazar side helps a lot with getting cards into the discard. I think this would change if I run like Hikari or do the Tiga
Mm,
combinations popular. But I think there's that trade off. Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't play as well if I were to stick with Blazar. The uncommon, I can get it on play, which is nice. With the Blazar scene, I can bump up a double grade 2 Mebius to the triple, play the effect, discard 3 cards, and I get to 2000 increase.
Oh yeah.
If I were to play the new one in Blazar, I get an increase to 16K, but I still have to use a card from my hand if I want to get
That's
that
true.
bump. So it doesn't pair as well with Blazar with the scene part.
Mm,
So if I were to keep Blazar Mebius, I might even keep like 2 of this one and then 2 of the other uncommon,
I see.
and then
That
adjust
makes
that
sense.
just based on the scene.
All right. Mebius Hikari. I mean, it looks like it could be really really strong. So I'm excited to see how it'll go. Oh, last thought. What do you think about this new scene?
Um, I don't know. Let me read it again. Like if you have Mebius, yeah, you can reveal the top card, and then you could send discard, and then send the rest of the bottom. It's if I was like doing maybe mono Mebius, it'd be interesting
That's
because
exactly
then
what I was
you'd
thinking.
have a good hit.
But like
Um,
even so, I feel like it's a loaded question because I think this card's awful and I don't think you should ever play it. But because the other thing is like it's if like you really need the scene and then you hit the scene and then it goes to the bottom of your deck, it's like that's not good either.
yeah, I agree. I don't think I'll ever use this one in any of the decks I'm thinking of. Try and look on the bright side where you could use it. It
Yeah,
is a 1 turn cost, so you could play it very early on. Realistically, for turn 1, it's whoever's going first is probably going to have lead.
yeah, yeah.
But you can at least have like if for whatever reason no one's really taking over scene the next 2 turns, you
Mm.
get a couple free discards. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree that it's not a scene that I'm looking forward to. So, what next? What deck are you thinking about the most?
So we talked a little bit about it before, but the I was originally kind of interested in Arc. I think maybe not so much anymore, or like not quite as excited because it doesn't seem like super exciting. So I've been torn between like what I'm like more interested is like Gaia Agul or like Rosso and Blue, mostly because those are like the new fun pairs that they've got going on, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And they've got like something different a little bit than what we've had. Like Gaia's got the bounce, and then Rosso Blue has the scene stuff. And I kind of decided I'm most excited to try out the Rosso Blue deck,
Hmm.
just because it's like I think it'll be interesting to figure out what scenes you want to play in, and like having the ability to use scenes without having the lead, but then if you have the lead, you can do like a double scene. Um, it I don't know if I'm just curious to see how well it'll work. I think for the most part, but it seems like it'll be fun to mess around with.
I think could you what were their grade 1 searcher abilities? Was it a discard 3 reveal like and
I
keep one,
think
or is it draw 2 and put
blue is
one?
like a 2 return 1, and then Rosso's a top 3 out of hero. Yeah,
I think
Rosso's a top 3 out of hero. And then where's blue? Oh, I have to look up blue.
yeah. I'm a little hesitant with the Rosso grade 1. Let's see what the blue one is. Because you're gonna have there's gonna be a lot of scenes.
Oh, they're both
In
a drop 3.
Yeah.
Drop
So
3, grab a hero, drop 3.
you're my worry is that if you run like let's go on the far end, you run 16 scenes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna be risky to have a lot of risk in trying to use that grade 1 searcher and
Oh,
get
that's
something from it.
true.
And even if let's say you're not doing crazy something crazy like 16 scenes, you've got if you have go for 8. If your starting hand has like 2 or 3 scenes, it's a little tricky until you can get lead and hopefully get that momentum.
Hmm.
And the nice thing with like a draw 2, put 1 at the bottom of your deck scene is if you have too many scenes, you can draw 2 other cards
Yeah.
and just dump one of your scenes to the bottom of the deck.
I guess
Um,
that the thought there is that you could use any scenes you discard for the blue level 3 to just start like pumping power around.
mhm, yeah.
But you are right that like you're gonna have a high chance to start missing things. And
So
I
what
think the
were
other my other like concern, I guess, is that um, with Rosso, sure you get the scene's effect, but unlike playing a scene, you don't draw a card back, which means like you're kind of depleting your hand a lot.
mhm. Yeah, let's quickly go through the 4 scenes. I don't
Yeah,
remember what all 4 of them
yeah.
did.
So this is the one that is maybe the nicest, which kind of replace so because if you have a blue, you can reveal the top 3 and grab 1 Rosso. So you should be able to replace itself even if you discard this one with Rosso. So I like that.
Mhm,
But it's not like, wow, this is so amazing
mhm,
in terms of like helping you win the game. So the next 2 are kind of duplicates where it's like one is a decreased BP for the opponent,
mhm.
and the next one is increased BP for yourself. So I think
Uh,
my my theory is that being able to like do a BP up and a BP down, or like 2 BP ups and 2 BP downs, like in the same turn with Rosso, like play a scene then use Rosso effect is going to be really really strong, and that's like kind of what I'm banking on.
mhm, yeah.
But we'll kind of see how it plays out. And then the last one is if you have Rosso, then you can discard a card, which theoretically gets you scenes away, and then you draw a card. And then if you do draw a card and you have blue, then you can give plus 1,000 to any of your people, any of your Rosso or blue.
Yep.
So there's
Uh,
kind of like 2 ones that help you get fix your hand, and then 2 ones that like do BP level up, level down shenanigans.
I definitely like the middle 2. I've been
Yeah.
wondering which effect is better. I think Gaia Agul had very similar
Yeah.
scenes. So like
I,
mhm,
my intuition is that decrease is way better.
yeah, I agree.
Um,
I guess the
yeah.
one I'm curious about is if you're gonna do 2 in one turn.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I guess you could decrease 2 different lanes, which is probably still stronger
Yeah.
versus like if you had to go all in on single lane. I'm wondering if a decrease and increase in the same lane, like if you look at a grade 3, a decrease will probably drop it by 5k.
Yeah.
Increase between grades 1 and 2, it looks like it's probably like 3 4k, and then between 2 and 3 you get 5k. So
Hmm.
I guess it depends on uh, if you're going from BP1 to 2 or 3. But I think I would probably run 4 of Farewell Icarus and you know
Yeah.
fewer than that
I
for the
think
other
you
ones.
definitely run like the 8 middle ones, and then whether you run these guys on the outside, I'm not super sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's why I'm looking forward to it, because I think it'll be fun to figure that out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one that you'll have to uh, play around with to get the right balance
Hmm.
and work with it. I guess one thing, if I'm thinking about the future, my guess is that uh, Ro- um, Rosa Blue will have maybe the same thing that's going on right now with Trigger Decker. I think it'll
Mm.
be a solid deck, but I wouldn't expect any support
Uh,
for
yeah,
like I doubt anything in BP3. You never know with BP4, but could be like BP5 before you end up seeing something new that pairs with
mhm,
it. And these two pretty much are only going to be run with each other. You're not going to throw in a
yeah,
third hero realistically, and you already have a lot of scenes, so there's not a lot of room for kaiju's to make have a role to play
yeah,
there.
that makes sense. I mean,
So yeah,
you were there when I was trying to talk about adding Z into the mix,
yeah,
which I think I was on board with until I saw the Farewell Icarus and In the Name of Ultraman scenes,
mhm,
because they can't affect like a lane that has Z in it, and like you
yeah,
can't run like 12 scenes and 3 ultras. It's like starting to get out of hand. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I think this will definitely be an interesting deck. Though, if you wanted this deck to carry you all the way till Worlds
That's
next
true. Like
year,
to have
that's
kind of longevity, it probably isn't. I think probably that would go more towards like the second deck that I'm more interested in, which is the Gaiagul.
yeah.
But I'm like I'm worried that deck's like a little too fragile, but we'll just kind of see when it happens.
Yeah, no, and I did want to check, are there grade 3 17 or 18 or
For Blue
16K?
Rosa,
Yeah.
Rosa is a 17 and Blue is a 16, but
Hmm.
they do have like vanilla 17s, which I'd probably be playing some of them as backup.
Yeah. Well, I guess you kind of will have to just because you don't have a lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
options. I feel like
And
for,
I guess I think
yeah.
like if you have enough 17s, then in like one level 3 blue
Hmm.
triple rare, then like they're basically 18s, which is quite hard to compete with.
And it is, and this one's active effect, it is from the discard card.
Yeah, it's from
So,
the discard.
yeah.
It's the only twice per turn, which is interesting.
Yes, that's
Uh,
interesting. So you can have turns where you treat this as an 18K,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, it's definitely going to be a building up towards a really strong turn where you activate
Hmm.
multiple scene effects, you activate the blue effect multiple times,
Yeah.
and you um, can win. Though what I would probably worry about then is getting lead for
Hmm.
that you need a strategy to get that turn 2
Yeah, I think
lead or
that's
turn 3 lead.
going to be the trickiest part, and my gut feeling is that a lot of it is going to have to do with playing a double Rosso
Hmm.
and having one of either Farewell Icarus or In the Name of Ultraman in your hand.
Can we look at Rosso's triple R or double R effect
Sure.
again? Yeah, so this one was discard a scene card from your hand, and then you can use the scene effect. Yeah, so
Yeah.
um, you'll be able to at least keep using the scene effects to make hopefully a very strong lane. If you do the increase, you can
Hmm.
play a 17K uh, in a new lane.
Yeah.
That's definitely terrifying with numbers, and that'll feed into being able to use the blue effect.
Yeah.
So you can actually even go to 19K to really boost
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
a lane.
Okay, so I think we've maybe rambled a little bit long on
Yeah,
those.
I guess before we go, any final thoughts overall on Blue Rosso's as a deck?
Um, Yeah, I'm not really sure because like I think it's just going to be hard to say without really messing with it, I
Yeah.
guess.
I'll say for me, it seems a lot stronger than I initially thought looking at the effects.
Hmm.
They definitely need the right setup, but seeing like what you can really do, even if you don't have lead and you don't have the scene playing out,
Hmm.
uh, being able to play a double Rosso, turn three in a new lane, use its effect to play some scenes. Um, Definitely very strong. You can build a lot of momentum by taking lead, and
Hmm.
a lot stronger deck actually than I was originally thinking.
Yeah.
So looking forward to playing these one
Yeah,
together.
it'll be a fun one to test. So my next topic of discussion is if you think there's going to be anything, or like, what would be your pick for some decks that will kind of survive the new set, so to speak? I think
Mhm.
the a lot of the new cards look really strong, and so there's definitely some concern about. Oh man, how are the BP1 stuff? Are they still going to cut it?
I feel like it'll be a bit of both. Like Trigger Decker isn't getting any new cards, but it already has what it needs.
Mhm.
Will it be able to compete with these new cards? I feel like it can do a pretty strong job if it can, stretch the game out. You keep playing singles with doubles.
Right.
But as a player, and it's not like there's a lot of events that we're playing this regularly. If there's a
Yeah.
shiny new card, you're probably going to want to play with the new decks.
Yeah.
But I think Trigger Decker will always be a strong, safe deck to play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm just like, how do I say this? Uh, since I, did quite won our first Galaxy Cup with Trigger Decker, and I quite like the deck. I've been kind of thinking about it and thinking about, oh, what could its advantages be? And I do think that it has like, it's always going to have that kind of edge in the long game, so to speak, of just being able to play one card for high power. But I think where it really shined in the first set is that it had the round three scene, which blocked off other people's scenes,
Hmm.
and it was usually able to get lead at some point, just because like there'd always be kind of a gap. I felt like uh, with other decks where like one of your 13,000 triples could just pop in there, or level threes, right?
Hmm.
And just you could take the lead for one turn, and then you cut them off from like a really powerful part of their strategy. And I think you could still do that because you'll notice a lot of these scenes are like round two scenes. So if you have the round three scene, you kind of block them off. But I noticed that a lot of the decks that do have that, they also have ways to like basically consistently put out like numbers higher than 13
Hmm.
on every single new column if they really wanted to. And so I worry that you'll never be able to have that chance to get lead essentially.
Yeah. If I had to amend something to Trigger Decker, I think it's gonna always be like a very straightforward deck to play.
Yeah.
I would say maybe its ceiling is a lot lower than, in just that it becomes a little more predictable. With like looking at Rosso Blue right now, you can go all in with playing
Hmm.
your scene effects, discarding one, whether or not you have lead. That feeds into Blue's effect, and you're getting like maybe plus 5, 6K power as a
Yeah.
surprise. Gonna be very. The thing is, you still have to use it, right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of know when to go all in with those effects, because it's going to only be on play for that boost. So you want to capitalize on that. Makes it harder to use, but will definitely be able to beat Trigger Decker if you know what's happening and you can see where
True.
it's coming. Uh, but definitely probably a good deck to get familiar and get the ropes of the game.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Uh, you will be missed, Trigger Decker. I mean, we had also talked about it before. Where I don't really want to dive in too deep about it into it right now, but basically that Trigger Decker, while it's very strong, it doesn't have a lot of ways to like affect the outcome of the game, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
to people at home, where like you just kind of you set it up and then you play big stuff and you hope they don't have anything to do with it. And I think like that's not always the best approach to like playing a game competitively, at least. Like, not that like there's a lot of tournaments to be competitive in, but like I'd like to have more say out of the like results of the game, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you said with Blue Rosa, like you have the option to go all in, but you don't have to, and so it makes it easier to mess up, but it also means you could probably be rewarded more if you know your deck better. Whereas like Decker's definitely that constant of like it'll be good, but you don't have the ceiling to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Other decks, I thought, I think a deck that's like I hear little sprinklings of around like Japanese Twitter is Tiga Blazar. I think that deck gets like a little bit of just like an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it'll probably still be good. I think Tigar I think Tiga is being like severely underestimated. Where I at least from a lot of the discussions that I've noticed is that people seem like to Tiga doesn't seem to be in the discussion anymore, and I think that that's definitely wrong. I think Tiga's like this card is extremely powerful, especially for decks that want to take the lead to put scene out. Um, and I just think underestimating it or saying like, oh well, the new stuff is just like obviously better is I think those people might be in for a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, this card is still going to be definitely a really strong one. If anything, what might change is how people use it. I think Tiga
Mm.
Blazar will always be very nice because you can use Blazar Scene to get a lot of effects and a really strong on play. Um, I think Tiga Gaia could be interesting.
Mm.
Um, I think now you'll have more options to pop off the level 3 and bring it back in the next turn. You can almost like continuously keep your 18k Tiga in the lead lane. Um, I
Oh, true.
think it'll definitely be interesting. You'll have more. It's kind of like your Tiga scene, being able to keep using your grade 3 on play effects.
Mm.
And we'll have to see. I'm actually curious. You have Tiga Gaia, you have Gaia Guru. You could kind of go between them, and kind of look at the numbers and situations, see which one
Yeah.
is more consistent.
I think the two things that I'm most interested about for Tiga in this next set, one is something I saw that I thought was really funny, which was like a mono Tiga build that used the trigger Decker scene. Uh, Even though they couldn't use it, it was just like, oh, you set up the Tiga, you swap it in on the third battle, and like you
Hmm.
can't really contest with it, and then you lock out the scenes for the other decks.
Um,
That was
Definitely
really
interesting.
interesting. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know how good it is, but it was an interesting idea. So I'm wondering like if it's worth thinking about that um, in the new set too. And but more so, I think I would be excited about is combining this Tiga with the new Rising Extra deck
mhm.
and using the swap to kind of rearrange your Ken Sato Ultramans.
Yep.
Because that
Definitely.
will be just like a absolute powerhouse deck if you have this Tiga's 18,000, and if you check all the Rising cards, they are also quite high in power. Um, he's got an 18,000, and the highest power pure stated is 19,000. So you have you know 3 different Ultramen that are 18,000 or above. Just
Mm-hmm.
by themselves.
Yeah, definitely if you can get it to align right. The trickiest part, and we'll have to see those decks to really see how they feel, but is getting consistent triples.
Mhm. Yeah,
Double numbers on those ones aren't the best. The 19K
the
one is only 12K,
only
so
12, yeah.
you have to get all the way up to
Yeah, if you don't hit the
a
triple
triple.
on these, then you're going to be in a little bit of a pain.
Um, you'll definitely win one or two lanes, but you'll still have to win the rest. So
Yeah.
it'll definitely depend on what goes into that deck. I don't know if you'll end up running Emmy or not. Um, a little tricky. You could have the other double scene, but unlike the strategy you mentioned of taking a triple scene just to block
Mhm.
it out, that's only a two turn or round two
Yeah.
scene. So um, it'll definitely be interesting. And
Yeah, this
yeah,
almost made my list of like decks I really want to try, just because like I'm like it's just the numbers are so big.
yeah, no, definitely. If um,
I really
I
like this though. Yeah, I get. I think you know. I think a topic for next time will be kind of how difficult it is to get cards in the U.S.
mm,
Uh, and really anywhere outside of Japan, it seems, or outside of Asia.
yeah,
Um, and I think this deck will do a lot for like the accessibility. I think you'll have to end up buying two maybe, but just to have this deck that I think could be pretty strong out of the box. Um, I'm looking forward to that in
yeah.
terms of like hoping that some people will be a little bit more enticed to get into the game.
Yeah, I think if anything, this deck would the one you have there with in your mind with Tiga Rising will definitely catch someone off guard.
Hmm.
I feel like even then, there's only the one option for swapping, and you
Yeah,
have to build up to a triple, so it's going to be telegraphed.
yeah,
Um, but the nice thing is the Rising one, you can pick which triple you want to line up
yeah,
the types, and then the Tiga will be a little more telegraphed, but um, if someone's not thinking that far ahead, you might catch a couple players off guard. And
true.
um, if only there were more tournaments and players to try these things out, I feel
Yeah,
like it could be a fun trip to go to a different Galaxy Cup.
yeah,
Maybe the regulars there will get thrown off by your deck, and you can
yeah, yeah,
get a couple wins, and then it'll get figured out by then.
yeah. And even without the Tiga, I think I maybe not won't maybe not be the most consistent thing, but I think it has some potential. Um,
Hmm,
just
definitely.
using like ultra dads and emmys to not need the swap essentially. Anyway, last little topic, which I think probably a little too far forward looking, if I'm being honest. BP3, the Ultraman Belial, who is a kaiju in the game, and Zero and Geed showing up, which is pretty exciting. Exciting for me is like like Geed is my favorite deck right now, for sure. And it's probably gonna not be playable in set two, so I'm looking forward to getting these like whatever comes from set three. Maybe it'll come back, and um, I think some amount of the qualifiers will be during the set three time. So
Mhm.
hopefully, I'll get a chance to show off my Geed then. And any predictions? I think you're a little bit more uh, in the know Ultraman wise, but
Um,
kind of predictions what other Ultramen we might see in this one.
I'm hoping some kind of kaiju scene. I mean, the premise is you're able to make a kaiju deck.
Yeah,
Um, Now, a kaiju scene could mean a ton of different things. I think the biggest problem is going to be how will they solve like consistency?
Mm,
So most kaijus with I think ME might be the only exception is just going to be doubles like
yeah.
grade
So,
five and six. So if you have, I mean, uh, you could probably be running four different kaijus with grade ones and twos in some
mhm,
scenes, and even that isn't still a full deck. You would right now. There's also only one variation of each grade for kaiju.
right.
So I'm hoping that you know. I think I don't know on the artwork. I think they showed Ella King. I always forget how to pronounce it. Kyrialoid, Baltan, Gomora. All the classic
Mhm,
kaijus will probably. I'm hoping get more than one copy of like
yeah.
grade fives and sixes. That way you can actually play a deck centered around them.
Yeah,
Um,
or even like
yeah,
a stronger deck that has them play a support role, because like for example the Arc Zero deck that I was trying out, like the zero part of it is just like twos and threes. There's no there's no ones to make triples there,
mhm,
but because you have 12 level threes and 12 level twos, you have the like you have some sort of consistency there, but the kaiju's kind of missing that, right?
yeah, and that's where whether they solve it with more copies of the same kaiju or um, some kind of scene or kaiju effect that lets them work around this inconsistency.
Hmm.
Uh, I would expect something along those lines. How they pull it off, I think will be up. We'll have to wait and see. Um, I think it'll probably be centered around Belial.
Nope.
I'm wondering if it'll be like a kaiju deck or it'll just be
A
a
Belial.
Belial plus kaiju deck.
Yeah.
Um,
It might be that Belial plus kaiju deck. I was trying to zoom in on this a little bit, but the Belial is like a top three searcher for kaiju,
yeah,
which I think we talked about before is a little disappointing given that like issue of not having so many kaiju with the same name.
and
Like maybe a
maybe
top
they solve
five.
that with just reprinting all the kaijus.
Oh yeah, could be.
Um, I mean, there's going to be even with sets one and two, there are a lot of kaiju, some more obscure ones that I would be very surprised if they print more copies or like grade
Mm,
fives and sixes of those. I feel like it'll be centered around like a smaller group of kaiju.
I see.
Um, but the ones they have, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I know in the other Discord, someone was joking about like a all Baltan deck because if you don't know that promo card, you can run as many copies as you want in that deck.
Seems like
Um, but like Alien Baltan or Baratan Seiji has so many variations over the years that you could probably have like set four just be only him and
mm,
you can have a bunch of different versions, different variations. And if you pair that with you're able to have as many copies as you want, or even if it's only that grade six that's allowed to
right.
do that. Um, Still, you can solve that consistency problem, and could have a lot of fun. I don't know if it'd be strong, but could be a lot of sneaky effects if you have everything in character.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And then my last thought, which is like as someone who knows like basically nothing about Ultraman, they're really given zero's their the favorite clearly is
Yeah.
what it seems to me. Every set so far we've had zero, and that um, as someone who comes from more of like the TCG side is a little spooky.
I mean, like Zero is probably one of the most popular ones. I
Hmm.
forgot. I think he debuted in 2014. No, 2012. I think around then, and
Oh wow.
then he had three movies of him. He had a couple specials. He shows up as a cameo, like a supporting role in a lot of series. The movie he debuted was I forget the exact name. It was like Ultra Galaxy Monster Battle or something, where he
Hmm.
debuted and Belial debuted, and you know Bellio wreaked havoc on the M7A Planet of Ultra, and then Zero was like in training with actually, if you go back and click on the second row, the last image. Oh, actually,
Oh,
no,
here.
that's with him and Zero. Sorry, there's another one, the Zero with that
Oh,
same
this one.
part with him and Leo. So in the movie, he was off on another planet training, saved the day, defeated Belial, and then I think the next two movies after that. Oh no, it was only that. I think the movie after that one, Belial gets resurrected, fuses with a bunch of kaiju, and then Zero and his gang helps defeat Belial again. So that's why they have that rivalry. So they kind of, it makes sense to pair them. But yeah, with that context, he's definitely kind of like I would say like the poster of a lot of the new Ultraman ever since
Okay.
like it kind of resurrected in 2012, if that makes sense.
Good to know. He's the Luffy of Ultraman.
Pretty much. He's he's got a ton of different forms, ton of different specials.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him in a bunch of different stage shows with a lot of different one-off.
Cool.
Uh,
Well, it'll
I think
be
he started the Blue Mantle, by the
it'll be
way.
fun to see more of him. I kind of like this Ultimate Zero Beyond form. Looks pretty cool, but I just I do have to say I'm a little worried that if you keep getting zero cards, then other decks are going to start falling behind, and the new zero is already new zero triple R is already pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes, I think
So
that's one. I don't think we talked about it. Maybe we could do another topic on this deck specifically. Is this a deck you were planning to incorporate or build with
I mean,
anything you
I
had?
think we'll definitely build it if we can. I think just in terms of like, am I super excited to play it? Maybe not.
Hmm.
Um, but is it going to be really good? Pretty much for sure. It's gonna be very strong.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be a topic for next time. Is after we've gotten our hands on some of the cards, is like, what do we think are the top dogs?
Yeah, I think set comes out next week. Hopefully we can put together some uh, deck lists ahead of time, and as we open the cards, hopefully get to have a full play set of what we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
build a deck around. We can do a couple matches,
Yeah,
and yeah, we'll have to practice a bit. The
we
following
have to
week will be
practice a
that
lot
Galaxy
because I
Cup.
think our Galaxy Cup is the week after the set releases. So um, there will be certainly some testing going on for sure. But I think that's it for today, so we can just call it.
Yep.
And thanks for anyone who's out there listening to us ramble. We'll chat next time about the decks we think are really strong coming out of here, out of this set two. Whether or not you know the decks that we thought we would like ended up panning out, and maybe a little bit about what people think about the whole cards not being easy to get situation. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Yep. See you. Thank you. Bye.